Ladies and gentlemen, we are back to continue to grow this channel. We resolved to be unrelenting, to continue to tell our stories ourselves, because we have surveyed everything that is to be surveyed. We don't lack in abilities compared to every other people in the world. We have only lagged behind because we have refused or neglected to do the proper thing, which includes telling our stories ourselves. This evening, I'm going to get into the subject of what culture of twins reveal about the Ibo, that is the Hebrew people who have a base that is at least 1,800 years in the modern country called Nigeria. The Hebrews of antiquity, that is the Israelites, and the Yoruba people, who are, alongside the Hebrew people, one of the largest ethnicities in this modern country called Nigeria. In Omenana, that is the culture of the Israelites, which, by the way, is the culture of these people that we know as the Ibo people today. By the way, Ibo is a local rendition of the term, of the English term Hebrew. In other words, when you say Hebrew, you are saying Ibo. And both of them derived from an obviously ancient word. We don't know how Abraham the Hebrew pronounced the term Hebrew. We are only speculating that he called it Ibri or Ivri or. But I know that 500 years ago, this term that has metamorphosed to Igbo was rendered Ebo, Hebrew. So what we are going to get into right now is what the culture of twins tell us about these people, the biblical Israelites and the Yoruba people, who, alongside these Hebrews in Nigeria, are one of the largest ethnic groups in the country. In Omenana, Hebrew bracket Igbo culture, the last one to come out of the mother's womb is the second born. That is, if a woman delivers twins now, the very first one to come out, as the Igbo people of Nigeria see it, the very first one to come out, if it is just a twin, two boys, the very first one to come out is the firstborn. He's what the Igbos call Diopara. Diopara. His brother becomes the second born, even though they were twins. This takes us back to the Bible. Esau and Jacob were twins. Esau became the firstborn. Jacob became the younger brother. So you find what the Hebrew people in Nigeria do, syncing, matching identically with what their Israelite forebears did 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago. Then we swing west to Yoruba land. Interestingly, this very powerful ethnic group, which is one of the two ethnic groups that call the shots in Nigeria, they have names for twins, Kehinde and Taiwo. The second one is deemed the firstborn. You can see this is a direct opposite. This is a direct opposite to what the Hebrew people of Nigeria do, or in Nigeria do, and what the Hebrew people did thousands of years ago. I wrote some time ago that Yorubas are not Israelites, and that Yorubas have never said they were Israelites. Yorubas have never systematically said they were Israelites. They are very educated. They can't make such a ridiculous claim. because they can't substantiate it. And moreover, they have a history and a culture they are extremely proud of. This is the most progressive ethnic group in the whole of Nigeria. It has a religion that has created religions in the New World. Yorubas, for God's sake, would feel insulted that people are saying they're Israelites. I wrote it and it earned me some attacks. Some people brought up all sorts of funny reasons. They say the ethnic rivalries in Nigeria must have motivated me to say that the Yorubas, we are not Israelites. For God's sake, I'm too big for that. I am too big for that. Because what's the advantage in even being an Israelite? Being an Israelite is equivalent to being a British, being a German, being an Australian. These are all ethnic nationalities, and none is superior to the other. But we deal with facts, we don't deal with emotions. I wrote some time ago that Yorubas are not Israelites, and that their religion and culture are the opposites of Israelite Ibo culture and religion. This earned me attacks from people who felt affronted. Interestingly, no Yoruba took it up with me, because I did law school education. I mean, after graduating as a lawyer in Nigeria, you go through the law school. I stayed in Lagos for 15 years. One of my roommates in law school was a Yoruba. He knew his history and culture. And I did not just start to say that the Igbos came from Israel today. Once this guy never mentioned that they came from Israel, he couldn't say it. Yoruba culture has never been abridged. Yoruba history has never been tampered with. Yorubas have a long-standing tradition of monarchy. The monarchs keep the records, and moreover, the living traditions. Their traditions are living. The British did not destroy the society the way they destroyed the Igbo society. So what could have made the Yorubas to evolve a culture that is opposite the Hebrew culture if the Yorubas were Hebrews? My friends that felt affronted that I said that Yorubas, we are not Israelites, we are relying on, quote, DNA studies. And I don't want this to take time, but DNA alone cannot tell us where anybody came, cannot tell us the origins cannot tell us the history of somebody 3,000 years ago. DNA can look at me today, relate me to another living population. You get my point? DNA can connect living populations. But if we are assuming that DNA standing alone, DNA studies standing alone, can tell us what happened 3,000 years ago, I mean, we are not looking at things the way things should be looked at. Because for you to say that DNA standing alone can tell you who is related to somebody that lived 3,000 years ago, you have to find the DNA of the individual that lived 3,000 years ago. Countless African Americans have been linked to the Igbo people, but the Igbo people are alive. Their DNA can be compared to the DNA of the Igbos. And by the way, this can never be proved exactly, because all humanity is mixed. Right from origins, everybody has been mixing. But our friends, we are not ready to see it that way. And I'm sorry, but I deal with facts. This earned me attacks, incidentally not from Nigerians. By the way, there has been no systematic comparison of the Ibo and Yoruba DNAs. You can ignore what you see online about the Ibo and Yoruba DNA being 99% identical. It just cannot stand. It's not true. It is not true. There are 50 million direct Igbos in the world today and up to 50 million direct Yorubas. Are you telling me that 5,000 Igbos and 5,000 Yoruba, that their DNA have been compared? It hasn't happened. Likewise, there has not been a systematic comparison of the Igbo stroke Jewish genes with the Israelite genes. It has not been done. We have not yet compared the genes of the Igbos, stroke the genes of the Jews, and the genes of the Israelite ancestors of these people. We have not done that simply because the Israelites existed thousands of years ago, and nobody has proved definitively that he saw the body of an Israelite that lived 3,000 years ago. And I don't know if it is possible to find such. If we see the cadaver, if we see the body of Caleb, the champion of Israel who walked alongside Joshua, we would say we have discovered the body of an Israelite because he died in Israel, but he was Kenite. If we see a thigh bone belonging to Goliath the Philistine, we could assume we have seen the body part of an Israelite. So what do you think? We know the Ibo and Jews are descended from the Hebrews because the culture of the Israelites is Omenana. Do a survey of the Hebrew Bible. The only description that fits the religion you will find in Genesis to Deuteronomy is Omenana, things you will do in the land. And this is interestingly the Igbo term for religion and culture. Since time immemorial, I know that this Igbo language has lasted. It's one of the oldest languages in Nigeria. I'm sure that it is at least 800 to 1,000 to 1,200 years old. And this language has only known Omenana as its term for religion and culture. And that is the term for the Israelite religion and culture. Judaism has deep hooks in this religion of the Igbo people. I repeat, Judaism, that is the religion of the Jewish people, has deep hooks in this religion of the Igbo people. People have wondered, or rather, let's not give attention to people that don't deserve attention. There are some obscure traditions of the Igbo people which, interestingly, the Jewish people observe. If an Igbo commits an atrocious act, he is to be mourned alive. Jews do that. If an Igbo takes the life, he doesn't receive a regular funeral and burial. Jews do the same. I can go on and on, but it's not necessary. I have authored 21 books on this subject. The really curious should get these books and read them. We know the Igbos have Israelite DNA. We know that the Igbos have Israelite DNA because the genetic materials of individuals like myself match the genetic materials of peoples, of the various peoples that are living in Iraq, in Syria, in Israel, and in southern Egypt. That is what my DNA reveals. That is why we know that the Igbos have genetic materials from the ancient Israelites. Culture has already brought us very close. The culture of the Israelites is the culture of the Igbos. And interestingly, both cultures use the same name, Omena. And DNA took us the last step. Look for my book. Go to Amazon, look for my book, Ibo and Abraham's DNA. Read it and see things for yourself. Some scholars have entered the halls of infamy by relying on a sham test held by American pastors who deceived the Nigerian press and some international newspapers that are run by anti-Semitic people, that they were Israeli scientists. They were pastors. It's doubtful that they even entered the university, but the Papers called them Israeli scientists, and they did not take any step to correct them. They traveled to Nigeria, harvested the saliva of some Nigerians who may be Igbos and who may not be Igbos, returned to America and compared those salivas to the salivas of some people they claimed were American Jews. And they claimed that the results did not match. And to them, this was a DNA test of the Igbos and the ancient Israelites. These people were daft. How can you bring modern people that are still alive and tell me that you have brought the Israelites? But this information is circulating. And some scholars who are lazy, after all, the forward newspaper that came out 2 days after this lousy result was released to the press, came out and called the quote test in Nigeria irresponsible. It's on, the paper is still there. So to recap, to the Hebrew people in Nigeria, that is the Igbo people, the first of the twins to come out is the first son, Diobara. To the biblical Israelites and their ancestors, the Semites, the Hebrews, the first to come out again is Diobara. Esau was Diobara. But to the neighboring Yoruba people, it is the second, it is the Kehinde that is regarded as the first son. Thank you. Have a beautiful night.